Hey everyone, today I want to talk about the Mac app, the Markdown Reader Mac app that I was building, and specifically about harness design, which I've been using a lot in building this app. So, just a quick demo of what the app does. Since I've been using coding agents, I've been reading and basically writing a lot of Markdown files, and I wanted a very simple way to be able to read them. So, there's a simple Mac application which allows you to open multiple Markdown files and essentially go through them. You can simply press tab and there's a file navigator. You can click on up and down arrow keys to navigate between files. And my favorite thing is basically if you do shift plus tab, you get a lot of themes. I typically like in the morning something which is white and fresh, and in the night going through something like Velvet Plum or Indigo Metro, which makes it easy to read, and then you can just press enter and then it goes away. So this is an app that I've been building as I'm creating a lot of Markdown files as part of coding agents. But I want to talk about how I'm approaching this software or building the software. I've been reading a lot about how OpenAI and Anthropic are talking about harness design for building long-running applications or software applications. One of the three key learnings that I had from them. For those who want to know like what is a harness, it's simply orchestrating a lot of LLMs and the new primitives that we have, skills, tools, and so on, and getting them to do a job. Software development, end-to-end application development is one of those things. And one of the few key principles of harness design is one, a repo is a system of record. So basically, everything I do is essentially part of the docs folder. This I've borrowed from this plugin called Compound Engineering, and it essentially exposes you a lot of slash commands and allows you to like brainstorm, ideate, and plan your work. But one of the good things it does is it essentially follows this principle that your repository becomes like a system of record, and it has in the docs folder, it has everything about like my brainstorming, the design docs, the architectural decisions that I have taken, the ideations that I have done. It also has the product spec and whatever solutions and whatever I'm building. So it has full context of everything, every decision that I've taken, and every ideation, product, and design doc. And what it does is that the agent, whether it's a builder agent or quality review agent or any kind of agent, they have full context of what the application does until now, what have been the decisions, and makes the whole process very seamless. So I've been using this Compound Engineering plugin for specifically making my repo as a system of record, and I start with some ideation and brainstorming, and then once I have a PRD, I basically use the work command to just execute the plans, and it uses like a multi-agent code. But what I've also started doing is essentially like sprint planning. So I essentially ask it to write a sprint plan. I wrote a custom command for it, and we both agree on a sprint plan, and then basically the developers just start working on the sprint. And I also like to write a test plan for that particular sprint and the scenarios that it has to test, and then I make sure that it is testing those as well before the sprint completes. So that keeps like a structure, like sort of orchestrating like a full sprint driven development that we used to do, doing that in the repository with the coding agent. One of the second very important principles of harness design of software development is verification loop. I think this is something that with web-based apps it's much easier because you have Chrome DevTools, and agents can navigate the Chrome and they can see if your app is running and then do a back and forth. But in case of Mac apps, it's slightly tricky. I've not been able to crack it well, but right now it's a native app, it's Swift, so it has full Xcode build and CLI access. So it can essentially build the app, run the test. It writes unit tests and integration tests as well as end-to-end UI tests like Xcode UI tests as well. But essentially, it's not very smooth that it can run those UI tests, open the Mac app, and essentially open the Mac app and navigate it and take screenshots and then go back and understand what it has built. I think that would be really amazing. I think that is something that I'm working towards, having certain skills for it, because one of the big things of a good harness for a coding agent or for any particular agent is having some kind of a self verification loop, because anything it generates, it can potentially go in wrong directions, but the LLMs are like really smart. If they are able to figure out, somehow they are able to verify their work, they can work in loops and be able to like finish the work. One of the third principles that both OpenAI and Anthropic are talking about in harness design is having like a different evaluator, like a dedicated QA agent. And this is separate from the builder. So the builder essentially has white box access, understands the code and everything. The evaluator agent is typically like your black box tester, and ideally they should not have access to the code or minimal access to the code, but they try to interact with the live app. I usually give them access to my docs, to a folder and to the sprint plans, and then it essentially writes scenarios and does an end-to-end testing, make sure everything is working fine, and then generate a QA report. So OpenAI in fact very explicitly talk about that having a totally separate evaluator agent is really important, because the builder agent tends to write tests or grade the software that it has built many times in the wrong way. So the evaluator, having a separate dedicated evaluator agent, is really helpful. So yeah, so these are the three things that I have been using, and it has been working really well. I've been trying it out on some of the few other projects that I'm building as well. So try to see if this compound engineering plugin helps you in building your apps more systematically, and try to use the Git repo as a system of record. Make sure that somehow your agent, your coding agent, has a full verification pass, so it can run the tests, all kind of tests, end-to-end tests, and is able to verify everything that it has built is working fine. And if possible, try to set up a separate QA evaluator agent altogether, which can look at the app more externally and do a end-to-end pass at all the scenarios that it should be running.